So once we click a couple buttons, then you get access to everything that we have access to. You have, like you had before, you have your balance sheet, liquidity and budget, a couple other things here, debt or things that you want to work on, task. Again, you can look at this as kind of in some respects, the biggest number, your net worth. And you can look at the details here for this made-up example. Across the top here now, you'll have about a half dozen, all these different tabs. And the dashboard again brings you back primarily to the balance sheet is the main one here. If you have linked a credit card or bank account that's just kind of the majority of your regular spending, then that also can be tracked here. But you certainly don't have to do that. So let me just go through these tabs quickly here. The investment tab gives you various x-rays into what your holdings are, the sector, and let's see, oh yeah, here we go. How basically aggressive you are in your investment holdings, how concentrated you are, not at all in this case, and then how much is tax deferred in retirement accounts and how much is mutual funds and taxable assets. The next tab, retirement, is really the key one in terms of projections, at least for those that are approaching or in retirement, and that is the sense of how is my answers the question or starts to answer the question, will I outlive my money or not? Okay. So here you only have this person only has a 59% chance of success. So the way you use this, let me go down here, is these are the current is the current inputs. We could say, well, maybe what would happen if she cut her, use the slider, but I'll just cut her retirement spending to 3,000. So she's got everything she needs. Okay. Then, bang, she's up to a 91% chance that she won't run out of financial assets by 91. One thing to note is success is it's not all or nothing. Even if you do run out of financial assets, which is not very likely in this case, or hopefully your case. Even if you do, though, you still have Social Security, you still may have a pension, you still may have a home or other things that you could use to support you for those last years. The next screen is this projection here. So this is your assets. So right now, at age 48, 210,000. Okay. And over time, that grows to over $1 million, and then about $1.5 million. These lighter regions then are the distribution. So the darker blue is the 25 to 75% chance. So almost at least half the time she's certainly going to be fine in terms of financial assets lasted to 90. 5 to 95, there's actually a bit of a cutoff here. That's that, 9% chance. And you can see most of that, though, is late 80s that she would run out of financial assets if markets really had a bad run. And then, of course, you can change other things down here. The last thing I want to show you here, too, is these projections are based on historical averages for whatever your holdings are, so how much you have in stocks or bonds or international stocks. One thing that I think is useful is if you just look at, well, what if my wealth just grows at a modest but a typical rate for the economy? So 2% inflation plus 2% growth. So in this case, it doesn't do as well. It's because that's a very conservative portfolio. Really, you could say making 2% above inflation. So she would run out of money in her early 80s, and it's going to have to adjust something down here. So, and this is all contingent on how much money, how much income they had, how much wealth they had over time, and returns. And the program does all that for you. A couple other things under retirement stress test is gives you a sense of, well, this is the baseline, and then there's 6 things that can kind of go wrong. So the stock market can crash by 20%. How does that influence the chance of her having enough money to live on through 90? There's some macro things, policy stuff. If taxes are higher, or Social Security is cut back, if inflation is higher, if you live longer or shorter, healthcare cost. Um, so you can change those. And you can see, we'll just do this last one here. What if you live 10 years longer? Make sure you should refresh. Watch that. Oh, there it went. Sorry, I was looking at the wrong one. So yeah, longevity, that went down from whatever it was, 80 something maybe. So okay. The other main tab, there's Social Security, which I'll just mention. It looks like there's a ton of money to be made if you use their optimal Social Security strategy, which is usually wait until 70 or some variation of that to get the maximum benefit. But this $120,000 assumes that she lives to 90, which, as we know, that's not a guarantee for any of us unless we're already 90. So I am glad to discuss that more with you. There certainly is some benefits to holding out as long as you can, so to speak, with Social Security. For Medicare, it's just really an overview of how Medicare works, whether you're using traditional Medicare, Medicare Advantage, and a few other things. This slide, some people love this, and some people like too much information. So this is all the essentially spreadsheets. I will say this is a good place to go if you're trying to understand better. Like, well, where did all my money go? Is one question. Or did I enter the inputs right so I didn't cut off years or something? So here we had Ann at $100,000 with a 3% raise every year. Her expenses were $5,000 a month or $60,000 a year. She pays about $24,500 in all federal, state, and local taxes. She saved $5,000 a year. So in the end, she had an additional $10,000 of money that she hadn't designated as part of um, her spending, but the program here assumes, well, if she didn't save it, and then it was spent, okay, and then that'll change over time too. The rest of these tabs are basically more detailed information. So on income inflows, if you just want to isolate that, of course, some people will have other columns filled here. Social Security doesn't come about until she's 67, so we can check, make sure that was what we wanted and how much her Social Security is going to be, 34,000 and change. So that's all right. Expenses, some details here. So she had her living expense plus her mortgage, and those. Again, you can see the projections if you scroll down, which I won't right now. Financial goals. Here, there wasn't any, but you can see if you have some things you're planning to save for and what have you. This is the taxes. These are estimates, so you can't use this to do your tax. It doesn't replace TurboTaxes. Net worth. This can be of interest, especially, and there's the details on the to the left and middle, but then on the last column is as it rises. So she's projected to be a millionaire at age 62, and that pretty much holds. On average, if markets do as they have in the past, she's going to have an increasing net worth over her lifetime. There's some other information here on her company 401k. Let's see here. Yeah. And then she doesn't have any stock options. Okay. So that's retirement. Insurance. She doesn't have any dependents or spouse, so that doesn't show anything. Education, again, there's nothing programmed in there or relevant for her case, so nothing there. This is the last really important screen. So how your taxes are going over time. So when she quits work, she'll actually have a few years, several years in fact, where she has a very low tax rate, which provides an opportunity. Oops, sorry. Does provide an opportunity, but you can. One thing with Right Capital, it gives you can look at your projected 1040 not for the year after this one. It starts in 2019. I'm not sure why they don't have 2018, but they don't. So once you're into a year, they don't show it here. I think primarily so people don't try to file their taxes with these are all estimates. So they may be hopefully fairly accurate, but it doesn't go through all the details of, say, TurboTax or your CPA would require. Back to the opportunity, so distributions. If with this low tax thing, low tax period here, she could maybe make a Roth conversion. And it would show you she'd make, again, under some assumptions about how long she lives and tax rates and what have you, she would make $148,000 extra from a Roth conversion over 4 or 5 years there. The last tab for this hypothetical scenario, and for yours as well, would be the state. There's really not, this isn't a estate lawyer or something. It's really just a simple checklist of, do you have a will? Most people would have some combination of these, either will or a living trust. The rest of these are more dealing with healthcare and ceding, making your wishes known or ceding power to your spouse or someone who can make those decisions for you when you can't. So that's it. That's a really quick overview. You know, you don't have to be an expert to understand quite a bit of this, but if you do have questions, certainly be in touch with myself, Paul Hamilton, or if you'd like me to go take you from start to finish, I can probably go through it quicker than most since I've done it dozens of times now, and maybe I have some insights to share with you. So that said, I hope you enjoy Right Capital and spend some time looking around. Take care.